The Martian by Andy Weir is a excellent science fiction story that focuses less on the extremes of sci-fi like a lot of modern sci-fi does. It focuses more on the much more grounded and realistic aspects of the genre, which makes it refreshing because we're currently being drowned in books that are all about extremes in AI and going as far as you can with an idea. Well, if you go to The Martian, that's not the case. It's a very well-paced, realistic examination of what would happen if a scientist got stranded on Mars. There is not much flash to it outside of that. Just what if a botanist was put on the red dot and made to live there? What results with that hyper-realism is a story that feels incredibly real and human. There is so much tension in this book, but it's very well balanced by excellent humor and lighthearted moments that really help bolster that human feel to the story. Andy Weir, I think, deserves every bit of praise he has gotten because that balance of tone, at least in my opinion, is incredibly hard to execute, and he did it unbelievably well for a first-time author, almost to the point where I didn't believe he was a first-time author. This is a masterwork of someone who's had decades of experience, not just a one-off shoot by a first-timer, but damn, he did a good job. The only criticisms I could give to The Martian are for specific types of people who might not like certain aspects of it. The fact that The Martian spends quite a bit of time going into real weather patterns on Mars, and the actual math of sending rockets and the details of all kinds of the stuff he's doing, if you're not interested in science, could be very boring to you. It's, to me, never not interesting to learn how these real scenarios would play out, and the more detail the better in my mind, and The Martian will certainly fill that craving for more and more and more detail. There are some differences between the movie and the book, I would say significant enough to make them different enough experiences to watch and read both and weigh and balance them against each other. I always find that very fun to do, but I get why some people would just go for the movie. I do find the movie to be a good enough representation of the book to say that it's just, if you want to do one and you're not a huge fan of reading, just watch the movie, because the movie is great. Matt Damon kills it as Mark Watney, and of course Ridley Scott directing anything is just going to be magnificent. That man's understanding of visuals is so next level, and they made the desert feel like Mars perfectly, except for the whole gravity thing, but we don't need to mention that. The main character is one of the most likable I've seen in a sci-fi book in quite a bit of time. Sci-fi tends to be a genre where not as much emphasis is put on character as some other genres. Well, Andy Weir certainly ignores that, and I would say a good third of this book is just building up the character that is Mark Watney. He's filled to the brim with personality and humor and quips. He is absolutely the world's first space pirate, and he earns that title because he is wonderful. If you want to get that joke, read the book or watch the movie. But not much character is really provided for other people occupying this story. There's a few, especially down on Earth, that you get to know well enough to say, okay, this is their character and it's done pretty well. But I found, certainly with some of the people you spend less time with, they're just, okay, this person's giving exposition and that's done. Pretty much unavoidable in a book like this, but I always want to see more character given. I would say the movie even did a slightly better job of giving more character to some of the people who maybe were not fully fleshed out in the book. I was a little disappointed by Donald Glover's performance in the movie, but that's a total side note. He just felt a little too over the top to me. Calm down, Donnie. If you've only seen the movie and you think it is a wonderful movie, I cannot tell you to pick up the book enough, because they are different enough and certain different things happen that make them a different story to me, but they capture the tone and that same atmosphere spot on. I would love to have been there when Ridley Scott and Andy Weir were talking about how to capture that same tone, because you know it had to happen, because it's a mirror copy and it's wonderfully done, and it's so great to see the time and effort put in to bring that humor and tension to the same levels in both mediums. I think they really knew that was their number one selling point, second selling point being character of the main character, and third being just wonderful, awesome, badass science. I've never been interested in botany before, more, but I think everyone after reading this book is going to have a little bit of interest in it. It's not quite as stressed in the movie, but it's still there a little bit. But man, is it fill a large part of the book, and it's also some of the most interesting science of all of the book. I've heard many people who are well-respected scientists, including people like Neil deGrasse Tyson, say this is the most realistic portrayal of in a sci-fi movie of all time, and I think that's true. As far as I'm concerned, I've never read a sci-fi book that is more realistic in the science that takes place and more detailed. It sends a message that I'm also just a very big fan of to my core. Science is badass, and those who spend their life studying it will have a better understanding of the universe around them, and therefore probably better off to survive in situations like these. That's pretty much an undeniable fact, and this movie just sends that message. And to me, that's just great. Anything you can do to get more people into science and researching the universe around them and understanding the universe around them, the better. And The Martian absolutely kills it when it comes to sending that very loud and clear message to its audience. But that's about all I have to say about The Martian. I hope you guys liked this video. My throat and overall body is feeling sick, so I'm going to stop now. Like and subscribe, all that fun stuff. And if you want, go ahead and check out my Patreon, that kind of stuff. I have one Patreon so far, and I forgot to put your name at the end of my last video, so I'll do it on this one. And have a good one. Peace.